Hello everyone, this is Laura from Astropositive, here to talk to you about the weekly astrological forecast for the week from the 5th to the 11th of January 2026. Well, can't believe we're already here, in 2026. So this time I will keep it short and sweet because, well, hopefully, because I already went over this period several times in my monthly and actually also yearly forecast, and I don't want to bore you out with repeating myself. Anyway, at this time we will just have recovered from the flurry of activity that took place, likely with the full moon, on the 3rd of January. I am recording this on the 1st of January, so we're not there yet. Things have yet to unfold. But a full moon is always a climax of some kind, probably where we would have felt this surge of energy and vital energy and rush to accomplish our dreams. Events could have well taken a dramatic turn at this time because Jupiter is hovering near the full moon in Cancer and is acting like a sort of a lighthouse, directing us towards bigger aspirations. All the while, in the meantime, the Sun is actually together with Venus and Mars in between them, and this has us warming up, to a new zest for life and also a rekindled libido. Venus stands for all that we crave and desire, all that we value and cherish. And Mars represents action, represents assertiveness and power. And together, they are, with the sun illuminating them, what's more, they convey the impulse, of going after what we want, after one's heart desires, manifesting our creative potential as well, believing in ourselves and in our chance to happiness. And all this might even sound like too good, to be true, but this time it's real, folks. So this time, these New Year's resolutions have a chance to outlast the month of January. So fingers crossed. Anyway, planets are there to support us and our fledgling willpower. Speaking of this full moon, I invite you all to follow my videos that I did on this subject for the previous week, where I described this full moon in more detail. And also perhaps my video about the month of January, where I try to put it all in perspective and connect the dots. Of course, for these videos, you should check out your sun sign, but also remember to check also your ascendant sign, because that often gives more reliable predictions. And if you are living far from your natal place, your birthplace, it would be a good idea to also check your relocated chart, because that also responds quite well to transits, I found. There are plenty of internet sites that can calculate your birth chart and your relocated chart for you. Actually, my favorite is astro.com. And a disclaimer, no, I have no part in this site and I have no commercial interest whatsoever. So, to get on with this week, we have no planets really changing signs this week, so the inner planets, the Sun, Mercury, Venus and Mars, are all still in hard-working and no-nonsense Capricorn. They all perfected this square to Saturn first and then to Neptune the last week. Saturn and Neptune being in Pisces. So now we have our feet again well on the ground. We steer clear of illusions. We don't let ourselves be deceived either by, some ill-intentioned others or by our own imagination in Pisces, because the squares to Neptune are behind us. At the same time, what we left behind is also our fears, that we now can recognize that were largely imaginary. We might have been our own worst enemies, actually, while we were stuck with the squares to Saturn and Neptune. What we want is something solid, something reliable that we can build upon. And now we can see that we can achieve it, actually. We just need a little push, a little nudge, a little encouragement. And that came with Jupiter, close to the full moon. Because, of course, Capricorn still is not the most positive sign. We know that. It can err on the side of caution. And anyway, here it was, this full moon at the very beginning of the year, that is giving us the green light to go ahead. But the planetary aspects that are promised by the full moon are unfolding this week, like a confirmation that what we had wasn't just a nice dream, and it wasn't just a one-day miracle. Here we are during this week, going through each of the steps promised by the full moon to advance and re-energize our lives. So let's see, in order. On the 5th, what we have is this splendid, fiery, queen-like moon, because the moon is in Leo. That has a little bit of difficulty adjusting to Venus, Sun, and Mars all in Capricorn, so forming a quincunx to it, and also adjusting with another quincunx to the North Node in Pisces. Well, planets in Capricorn don't provide the ideal setting for this majestic, a bit entitled moon. So we won't probably have our needs catered for during this week in the way that we would like. What is called for is a practical and hands-on approach, keeping our nose to the grind if we want to make any progress, because all the inner planets are in Capricorn. On the 6th, the moon is still in Leo, so the moon now understood better its weaknesses and maybe accepted them also, with the trine that it makes to Chiron. Afterwards in the morning we are in for a shock because the moon is squaring Uranus. There might be a high tension situation that actually delivers some unexpected results with Uranus, but it will be likely a very pleasant surprise with Sun conjunct Venus in the same day. This is all about having a beautiful day, basking in the warmth of the sun and in the warmth of good feelings, enjoying appreciation of others and taking our time. With Venus, a little laziness is a good thing, is called for. There's no rush. Why not make this good moment last a bit longer? And of course, in this happy, amiable atmosphere comes the trine of the moon to Juno in the end of the day. So partnerships are faring well, partners can see eye to eye, and there is no disputing this perfect harmony. Afterwards, on the 7th, the moon is in Virgo. It's ruled by Mercury, of course, is minding her business and doing her thing, not making any waves, as usual in Virgo, but as it is in good aspect to its own ruler, Mercury, there are some more good news to be expected with the trine to Mercury, lively exchanges that can lead to social reunions in the evening. Effective communication can lead to successful meetings that actually end up to a conclusion that is favorable for everyone. We may meet with people from the past, we can renew connections that have been perhaps loosened or even cut off. This is a good day to have a heart-to-heart conversation also with your children, and also maybe reinforcing a bit, some rules if you are a parent. You will know how to make yourself understood, and a little Capricorn authority and guidance is what is called for. There is good agreement at the end of the day. Everyone is happy for having opened up and spoken about what mattered, and peace and affection should reign, because the moon is opposite the North Node. And actually right afterwards, in the very first hours of the morning on the 8th, we have the moon trining Sun, Venus, and Mars. Okay, so the 8th is starting off in a very nice and balanced way because of these aspects of the moon, as I said, and also this day features a conjunction of Venus to Mars. And this is quite an outstanding astrological event because this is the start of a new cycle, and it occurs every 2 to 3 years, like that. And it's a new cycle in matters of love and affection with Venus and Mars. Well, it's about your libido, as it is called, but it's not only matters of love, because as Freud defined libido in the beginning, it defined it also as simply a vital force, not only a mating drive. So this conjunction can awaken our appetite for life in general. And it is already felt like 1 or 2 days before the day of the exactness. This conjunction comes accompanied by the moon sextiling Jupiter, so there is reason to celebrate. Good aspects are just piling up, because afterwards we have Mercury sextile the North Node and also trying the South Node, which means reunions, coming back together in order to strive and form a new bond together. This configuration strongly calls for establishing connections, with a definite project in mind, be it romantic or just a creative project. There is a slight downturn in the second half of the day because the moon is opposing the Saturn-Neptune famous conjunction. we might be reminded of what hurt us in the past, and we might be confronted with all that we had to give up with these planets in Pisces, and this might sting a little, I won't lie. Luckily, there is also a trine of the moon to Uranus, so we welcome in the new and we make peace with the past, basically. On the 9th, at the start of the day, the Libra moon, this time, is trining Pluto and squaring Juno. So with the Libra moon, the focus is on relationships. And the recent events of the last day might have created some tension in some relationships. And today we are in no mood to compromise because the Sun is also conjunct Mars. We might feel actually quite belligerent and rebellious and think that being the first to attack is the best way to defend ourselves. On the bright side, we are well able to stand up for ourselves. We feel quite energetic and motivated, and with all this untapped energy, we might break personal records in sports, or we might perform like never before at work. On the other hand, it can be quite a discordant energy, because Mars is the god of war, and the principle for this is myself, me and myself first, my needs against the others. So we should try to moderate our urge to strike first or fight back. And this especially applies to Mars-ruled signs, of course, so Aries and Scorpio, and also with Leo, because Leo is ruled by the Sun. And yes, you can have an ego, but remember that so do the others. Luckily, this day we also have Venus opposite Jupiter, so this is a day to pander to our lavish tastes and treat ourselves to something nice. On the downside, we might indulge a bit too much, but we will probably not regret it, seeing that the next day we also have the Sun and Mars opposite Jupiter. So this is keeping our spirits up. Okay, so on the 10th, perpetuating this this great mood. On the 10th, the mood is high and vibrant. Everything is possible. The sky is the limit, basically. And we can get impatient with restrictions of any sort. Now is the time to break free from any kind of constraints. The moon is still in Libra, so it is still about how we relate to others. And now we might want and claim too much from them, from this especially significant others in our life. Or we might get our hopes too high because this is Jupiter, and we might overshoot the mark a little. The moon is squaring this Capricorn stellium of the Sun, Venus, and Mars. So we are in danger of just throwing caution to the winds. Caution represented by Capricorn, and the moon being in square, this creates quite some tension. And maybe we can do something reckless at this time. Especially as the moon opposing Chiron later in the day, in the evening, is definitely a setback. We either made a bit of a spectacle of ourselves, and we might feel embarrassed for it, or our plans backfired and we are irritable as a result. Either way, we just put ourselves in a delicate situation, and some adjustments need to be made on the 11th. And I'm speaking of adjustments because the moon will make these quincunxes to Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, 3 at the same time. So a quincunx aspects speak about adjustments because the quincunxes occur between 2 signs that have not much in common, that don't speak to each other. So in this case, it's Libra and Pisces. So fairness and justice with Libra ask for a sacrifice of some sort with Pisces in order for balance to be reestablished. The same day, Venus is actually also squaring Chiron. So we feel unsure in our love relationships, or perhaps we feel unsure of our own appeal and lovableness. We can feel shy as a result of the excesses of the last day and when we overdid things a little bit. And now we are called back to order. It will feel heavier than it should because the moon is also squaring Pluto and it's in Scorpio. So things might get blown out of proportion with Pluto. The point is, don't overthink it. Don't take it too much to heart because it's just a moon aspect and it will pass in a few hours. The pressure is real, but things will work themselves out because at the end of the day, the moon is sextiling Juno, meaning an agreement in relationships is reached eventually. Okay, so here is what I had for you for the week to follow. You should prepare for an intense week of highs and lows, but mostly highs. That will make you feel alive, at the very least, if anything, and it will give you the boost needed at the start of the year. And please do leave a comment if you feel like it and if you have time to let us all know how things went for you. Until then, I wish you a great time, enjoy yourselves, and see you next week. Bye-bye.